Hello, and welcome back to the Waistline Podcast. As always, my name is Lee, and I am your host on the Waistline Podcast. Today is when the bell rings. Well, when you hear this, it'll be March 30th, but for me, in the past, it is March 29th of 2021. As you can see, I'm in a brand new location, and if you're listening, we do have a YouTube. It's just Waistline Podcast on YouTube. Please go check it out, and it'll be fun. Because starting this week, I don't know when it's going to come out yet, probably in a few weeks, but starting this week, I'm going to start doing talks and calls on Zoom with you, the listener. And I have a lot more live guests lined up starting today. We have a great guest, Greg, which I'll talk about in a minute, but I just want to give you a quick heads up. Next week will be Shane Wally from TikTok and Instagram. The week after will be John Glaude from Obese to Beast. Shane has lost over 100 pounds. John Glaude lost 160, 100, I believe at least. He was on Ellen. If you're listening from him, he has a very successful YouTube channel. And I have a great guy. I think his name is JJ. And if I'm mixing up the names, I apologize. But I know a guy named JJ wants to come on. We have someone who was on The Biggest Loser, and I think that's the same guy. I don't have it in front of me. But we have some great actual guests coming up. But then when I'm starting this week, and if you want to be included, email waistlinepodcast@gmail.com, and I will do a Zoom call with you, and it'll probably be around 5 to 10 minutes, and we'll talk about where you are, if you've done it before, if you're on the process now. And I have a comedian named Ruby. I have a comedian named Jessica from LA who are both gonna come on. I have a gentleman named Chris from Minneapolis who's gonna come on. So we have a bunch of great people, and I want to talk to you. I really want this to become a community for people who are losing weight or want to lose weight or have lost weight, anything to do with weight. So that is what the plan is. So email me, waistlinepodcast@gmail.com, and we will set up a Zoom. And hopefully your part will be on the episode. It might take a few weeks because I've already gotten a bunch of emails about it. So I'm gonna do my best to mix it up between experts. My brother will be on, Jordan Syatt Fitness of YouTube and podcast and Instagram fame will be on here as well. So we're gonna have a mixture of guests and then just talking with you guys, and then updating you on my all my current weight loss journey. You will notice, because I recorded this a couple weeks ago with Greg, that my face was chubbier in the video. So that's what this is today, March 29th. And then tomorrow, I weigh in tomorrow. The day this comes out will be my weigh-in day. And knock on wood, because I weighed in today and I hit 60 pounds as of today. Woo! The crowd goes wild. But things could change, so it could be 59 tomorrow. I'm hoping it might even be 61. But I think I hit the 60-pound mark plateau lost, which is very exciting. And I 60 down, 100 to go, pretty much. Yeah, if I can lose another 100 pounds, that's really where I want to be. And I could still probably lose another 110. Not 100 and then another 110. If I lost like 110 or 120 from where I am right now, God, how did I get so big? That's just so much weight to gain and to lose, and it's going to take a while. But I wanted to give a shout out to Alan Camillo. I hope I can say your whole name. It's on Instagram, so I feel like I can. Alan brought up a very good point on the Waistline Podcast Instagram page. he brought up the fact that I have not yet talked about my workout routine. And that's because I hate working out, so I don't think about it that much. Never been a fan of working out. It's just not something I enjoy. I wish it was. It is not, but I'm working on it. So, just a little bit of a aside before we have our great guest Greg on, I wanted to just tell you what I do. So I have never enjoyed working out ever, 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 ever. I don't even like bowling. That's how much I don't like physical activity. Um, I played sports as a kid because my mom made me. In a nice way. It wasn't like, but I was never good. Like in baseball, I would be catcher or outfield, so I could play with the soft dirt. That's not a joke. Also, I am trying my best to look at the actual camera because I realized in the last one I was used to just looking wherever I wanted. So I'm trying my best to make eye contact. I in high school when we started lifting weights, I sort of I didn't really get into it. I liked leg presses because I was big and my legs were strong, so I could not bench, but press a lot of weight with my legs. But I barely ever did it. I wrestled in high school, but they always used to make you weigh in at the end of practice, and I would just leave because I didn't want anybody to weigh me, especially not in public. And it's not like I was going to be on varsity. I had to weigh in before matches, but let's just say I wasn't cutting weight. I wasn't like the UFC. So when I moved to LA, I am a huge homebody. I don't really, people are like, let's go hiking. No, thank you. And I've never really, luckily, knock on wood, had much pain. My back gets tired occasionally. But I am short and fat, so it's like a double bad. Because I feel like I'm jogging to keep up with tall people. But I never got into that. I'm trying to think now. God, probably close to 7 or 8 years ago now. Probably 7, not 8. I lost weight for the millionth time. I don't know what number. And I got down. It's probably about 50 pounds down from where I am now was my lightest. And I did that with a girlfriend I was dating at the time, or a girl I was dating at the time. Obviously, we're no longer dating. But we were sort of strict. I was pretty much counting calories, but I wasn't doing the OMAD, which I really do enjoy. If you're listening to this for episode first, go back to number 2. We'll go back to number 1, but go back to number 2, and I explain more about what I'm eating. But during that time, I started going to the gym fairly regularly, close to 4 or 5 days a week, and doing the elliptical and watching movies on my iPad when I was on the elliptical. That's fine. I did ask my brother, Side Fitness, on my Patreon about calories, and according to him, the calories it tells you it burns on the elliptical are way off. But I would do between 45 and an hour. Obviously not the first time. There was a comedian named John Panette, and he had a joke that he would go to the gym. He was a lot bigger than me. And he had a joke that people would go to the gym and be like, oh, maybe after I do the elliptical, I'll do weights or something. And he had a joke. He says, if I can do 45 minutes and not die, I'll eat raviolis and have a nap after. And like the first time I did it, I could barely do 15 minutes, but I got it up. I could do an hour. I did over an hour a couple times. But I did an hour or 45 minutes, and I'd watch movies or TV shows, and it passed the time. I didn't enjoy it ever. Not once did I enjoy it. But I did it, and then I actually found the only kind of workout I've ever really had fun at was There was a kettlebell only. They did TRX too, which is the bands that you pull yourself up um, with, but they was mostly a kettlebell gym. And Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 in the morning, I would go, and it was awesome. And the coach was great. He was a retired Irish firefighter. Well, he was American. He was from the reason why I said that is my buddy who told me about him called him Irish. But he was a retired firefighter from New York, the New York area. And he so like ripped, and he was, I think, in his early to mid 50s. But ripped, super nice guy. And the reason why I liked it so much is, and the class would fluctuate, but it was usually the same 4 or 5 people, and we really became close. And we would support each other, and it was fun. Like you have to keep moving in between sets, so we dance, and it was a blast. And I did it for probably 6 months, 7 months, and I remember it wasn't the nicest thing anyone ever said to me, but one of my comics I know in LA saw me when I was at my skinniest, and he said, "Oh, Lee, you're starting to get a little bit in shape instead of just being a shape." And comics are fun. But I got pretty good at it, for me at least. But then unfortunately, the gym closed because they were raising the rent to an exorbitant amount, and he decided to close it. And that was the beginning of me putting weight back on, because I just stopped working out, and I had already started to eat a little bit poorly because I just got sick of eating on a diet. But I had, with kettlebells, I actually built up a metabolism. So like I remember I started getting like breakfast sandwich. This is how it's fast food's the devil. I started getting breakfast sandwiches at Jack in the Box on the way back by telling myself, "Oh, it has protein." But the hash browns don't have protein. Maybe they not enough. It's not worth it. But slowly but surely, I put the weight back on, and I bought a whole set of kettlebells, and literally they had cobwebs on them, multiple times. It's depressing, and I only have one of them left. I left the rest in LA and gave one to a buddy. But I had kettlebells, and I had multiple people. I feel really bad. Maybe at one point I'll be man enough to have both of them on. One guy, Jeff Phillips, I ran into him at a Target, and he offered to train me for free, and we did for a few months, and was very nice, didn't charge me, but I just wasn't ready. It's tough because he was a great guy, but he'd be like, "Oh, you should go to if you're gonna go to Wendy's, get a salad," and that's for a normal, healthy person, like a mentally sane person. I can't go to Wendy's and buy a salad. I wish I could. I just have to avoid it altogether, like it's a devil. But we'd work out a little bit, and I just wouldn't do it when I wasn't with him. I wouldn't miss the appointments, but I remember waiting for him to drive up, and always hoping he'd cancel. I was pray that he would cancel, because I just hated it. I didn't like it. It wasn't him. It was working out is not fun for me. And then another guy, his name is Brett. He owns Subconscious Jiu-Jitsu in North Hollywood, and you should go check it out if you're in the LA area. But he ran a circuit training course 2 days a week. Again, didn't charge me. I ended up paying him later. But he didn't charge me, and I didn't pay him what he was owed. I bet I gave him some money when I was leaving because I felt bad that I basically abandoned him. But I did it for a while, and I hated every minute of it. He was a great guy, and there's a guy named Hector in the class. He's a great guy. Has nothing to do with the people who were helping me. They were all very nice, generous people. I just was not mentally in a place to do it. And there's nothing you can do to force someone to be there, or me at least. And I wish I was different, but I'm just not. And then the thing that made me stop was he got this bike, because I would do it. I would do the workout, my eating was awful. So I was basically just maintaining or gaining at a slower rate. Um, but sorry, I would do the classes and I would do them, but he got an air assault bike, which it's like if Osama bin Laden was reborn as a bike, or what's Mao? Isn't Mao bad? I'm sorry, I'm trying to think of bad people. If Harvey Weinstein and Bill Cosby were reborn as bikes, they would be air assault bikes. And it's just a bike, but it has like, instead of a wheel, it has like a fan, but it's going the opposite way, so it's really hard. And on my arms and legs are short, and has the whatever things, and I just hated it. I hated it with all of my being, and he knew I hated it, so he would make me do it every week, and I was a baby and quit. I just didn't want to go anymore. So that was the last time I really tried working out before this. Now, what am I doing now? This will upset and surprise some people. I'm barely doing anything, to be very honest with you. I like I said last time, you can look and talk about the calories that I am consuming, but I am doing something. I do 4 workouts a week. Twice a week I do walks, and they're usually between 2.5 to 3 miles long. And then twice a week I do 100 kettlebell swings and maybe some squats and presses. And that's what I'm doing today, actually, in about an hour. But that's it. That's really all I do. I could do more, and I'm sure it would help a little bit. But I've been told, and I believe that the majority of losing weight is in the diet. So that's what I'm focusing on, and I'm doing my walking, and I actually prefer the walking to the kettlebells, but I'm doing some kettlebells, and it's enough to get me by at this point. So that's really it. That's all I'm doing working out wise. I'm sure I could do more. I'm sure I thought that maybe today, I think when I get down, I've never run, literally ever. I think the last time I ran was high school. I remember 2 times. Obviously, wrestling practice, we'd run around the mat a little bit. Freshman year of high school, someone threw something off of a bus, and I think we had to do 50. We had to do a lot. Like, I think 25 laps around a football field, which was like, I don't know, but around the loop. So I think each one's a quarter mile. So what's that? 20 divided by 4 is 5. So it's probably like 6 miles, 7 miles. I think that's the most I ever did. And frankly, I don't know if I even finished. I blanked it out. And then I remember just wrestling. But yeah, that freshman time was the worst. But I think a 5K is something like 3.5 miles. It's not a ton. So I think when I hit 100 pounds down, I might start training for a 5. I'll do it. When I'm not going to do it right when I hit 100 pounds. When I hit 100 pounds down, which is in 40 pounds, so probably I can delay this for another 2 to 3 months. But when I hit 40 pounds down, 100 pounds down, I will start training for a 5K. And I will do the 5K by the time I get to my goal. I will not be breaking any speed records at all. I will probably set a record for the slowest 5K. Anyone, if you have a what is it called? A Guinness Book of World Records, let me know if there's a record for the slowest 5K by a human being, and I will not even, it's not like I'm going to try to break it. I am going to break it. My legs are short, and I don't like running, but that I think would be a fun accomplishment to say at least once in my life I did a 5K. It's basically going to be like speed walking for most people, but I'll be technically running. So that's all I'm doing, and that's going to be my goal for this podcast, for you on this podcast. Now, to our guest. He's a great guy. His name is Greg Benevent. If you are not wanting to check it out, you spell that Benevent. Benevent. Um, he's a great guy. He's a comic in Los Angeles. If you're ever there, check him out. Very funny. And I connected with him immediately when I started comedy a few years ago because he would talk about losing over 100 pounds. And the amazing thing I found out on this call, which I guess you'll find out now, is that he's actually kept it off for 10 years. I think he's about to hit his 10-year anniversary, actually, of keeping it off. And he has an interesting way of doing it. I do want to give you a heads up with about, I would have cut it out, but it's like an important, I asked him how he has been able to maintain. And unfortunately, for some reason, his mic just switched. He was on his phone, and for whatever reason, it couldn't come back. So the last 5 minutes, the audio is a little bit weird. It sounds like he's in a fishbowl. But the podcast stands for itself, I believe. I still think it's great. Don't forget, next week, Shane Wally of TikTok and Instagram. The week after, Obese to Beast. And hopefully the week after that, I'll have my first call-in. So email me, waistlinepodcast@gmail.com if you want to be on. And Greg, Mr. Greg Benevent, thank you so much for joining the Waistline Podcast. I bet you kind of regret losing that weight. I qualify for the vaccine now because of my weight. So yeah.
I do know a lot of people that, yes, did not go through a similar transformation that right now are much safer from COVID-19.
Yeah, you're gonna have a couple burritos and get over that BMI scale, and that's hysterical.
No, you don't understand, doctor. I used to be obese. I qualified. You know, it's here's a fat picture, please.
I identify as obese. I mean that. So first of all, thank you very much for coming on. It's great to see you again.
It was so good to hear from you. It was this thing. It just separates you from people that you used to see all the time, and then
I know. And you were one of the first people because and it's weird. When I got into comedy, it was right after a breakup, and like I just sort of, it's fine. It's better that we didn't end up married. But like I just like I've always been big, but then like, and I told people this a lot, and it's just 100% true, and it's just sad. The place that Greg and I would do comedy is next to a 7-Eleven, and some nights when I was down, I would be like, all right, I'll go do an open mic because I know I can go get candy afterwards.
I would actually amend that to give them an even clearer picture of it. Not only was the place where we would go to work out new material next to a 7-Eleven, there was no way to avoid the 7-Eleven on your way to the place. There was no alternative route. It was literally backed up against a freeway overpass. So you had to pass by the 7-Eleven. There was no way in or out to avoid temptation.
And then I don't know, because I'm going through doing my taxes now, and I'm like just seeing my credit card receipt, and it's literally 7-Eleven for like the exact same amount. Because I had a rule. I don't know if you had this when you were big, but I had a rule. I would go one chocolate, one gummy. So like, and that was like a night, like, and that it's crazy. And we're skipping ahead a little bit, but it's crazy. Like when you start losing weight and you actually start paying attention to what you're eating, and like you think about what you used to eat, you're like, it's no wonder I gained 100 pounds. Like it's like I was eating a full day's worth of calories in about 7 minutes.
Right. Yes. Right. But once at noon, and then once again at 3 p.m. and like also at 7. That day's worth. Actually, no, 7-Eleven when I was at my heaviest. I was at the 7-Eleven in college and 34th Street in Philadelphia, and they had the taquitos thing. That was mine. If I made it out of the 7-Eleven without getting the taquitos or a Philadelphia pretzel, it was a minor miracle and almost never occurred. It would be like because both were sold out.
Well, so then I guess because that's amazing. Like it's almost, there's some towns, and I think Philadelphia is one of them, where like you should get like a waiver for being fat because like the food's just so good. Like my buddy, I just actually went. I don't know if you knew Steve Simone or knew of Jimmy Schubert, both of those comics, and
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I don't know them personally, but I certainly know who they are. Yeah.
I just had dinner with them last
Oh.
week, and because
Mhm.
they're both down in Florida right now,
Mhm.
and we went to a place that had Philly cheesesteaks, and I was just like,
Oh my
I
lord.
couldn't imagine, and I got a. It was listen to how much of a dork I am now. I got a chicken cheesesteak with a side salad.
There's nothing dorky about that at all.
I
The
felt
dorky thing is to cover that in blue cheese. Like
right,
the
right.
dorky thing is to get nothing but ribs. Like
I
that's
know.
not the dorky thing. Like
I know I gotta get over it, but it's like I just felt like I was letting my old self down. I couldn't believe that I got a chicken cheesesteak with light cheese and a side salad. It
okay,
was
but see, but I think but look at hey, I mean it's speaking to someone that at my thinnest when I used to be a South Street cheesesteaks down the street from here, which I don't think was around by the time you and I met. I would go and I would get like the whole wheat bun and the chicken cheesesteak with no cheese, and I'd put onions on it. So if that, I don't know if any of that counts as making
oh,
you
it
feel
no, it
less
count. It
dorky about a
definitely
meal you had
counts.
last week, but yeah. Mhm.
Oh no, it's amazing. So, um, when I met you, you were you do look skinnier. I gotta say, I don't know if you've been continuing on it, but I mean, you were already in
Mhm.
my eyes very skinny when I met you.
Yes.
Like you
Uh,
wore skinny jeans, which
yes.
was amazing. I would never even. I don't know if I'll ever get down to skinny jean size. We'll see, but um, I immediately connected with your comedy just because like I don't know like it's weird because we're in the biggest country in the world. Everyone's super fat here, but it's like you still feel as a fat guy or a fat person. I guess you like it. It is isolating and like so
Mhm.
like when you see somebody who's been through that same experience and you would talk about it, I immediately connected with you. So like when like were you because I was at a show and some guy asked me when did you start putting on weight and I to try to be funny and to just the honest truth I said when I was like at birth and like the like when did you start getting big, was it a lifelong thing or was it later in life or
I mean, I was always somewhat chubbier. I remember even as a small child than my friends I remember. But I really want to say I kicked in around adolescence. That's where I started to become, obese. I know by the time I graduated high school, I was somewhere around 220 to 240, I want to say. And then I did like a freshman 60 or so and I was somewhere around 300 pounds sophomore year of college.
wow. And then it's so funny you said that because like I always felt like the biggest kid weight wise. Not I'm short. I wish I was, but like I always felt really fat and out of like I don't know if you might actually understand this. Do you know like when boys wear shorts and like I think it's like their Achilles tendon or something. Like I always noticed on skinny kids like they would go in and you could actually like see the tendon. And on me, it was just like a round ankle. Like it was like I never I always felt big, but then
Mhm.
like I didn't start really putting on weight until like real weight until I was 16 and got a car, like my license,
Mhm.
and I could start
Mhm.
driving. And then LA really killed it for me. Like I was always big, but like oh now looking back, I'm like God, I would kill to be 200 pounds. Like so, like I'm on my way there, but it's like it like if LA killed it for me because there was just no
Mhm.
walking at all,
Right.
and I was working nights. So like
Oh God,
the
that's really one of the toughest things. I worked in the Pittsburgh post office for 1 month in December, and I think I put on about 20 pounds in a month in December of 2004.
oh
Like,
yeah,
mhm.
those months
The
kill, and
nights do
then
you in.
and like because you still work. And I don't because I don't really have much office experience. My only office experience was when I first
Mhm.
got to LA because
Mhm.
and you would think it's because of niceness, but it's just because they want you to keep working. Is like a lot of the offices would have snacks for you.
Right.
So
Mhm.
like I remember like so many times. Like I would eat like one of those Nature Valley things every morning with a Diet
Which are just
Coke.
loaded with sugar.
Yeah.
That whole Nature Valley thing is an absolute fraud. Like the sun and the great green and all
Oh,
that. No, no, no.
and that that
It's
that
all
is
fake.
actually one of my like I kind of want to like do like an expose for 60 minutes or something. Like I
Mhm.
hate the way like they'll do that and you think it's healthy, or like they'll put on the side 100 calories per serving, and then you look at a regular sized bag of something and there's like 27 servings in it, and
Right.
it's like they don't want you to get to be healthy at all. It's just all a marketing scam, and it's
Hmm.
just. But like I remember like the show that I really probably gained most of the weight, and I lost weight, and
Hmm.
we'll get but um it was Hell's Kitchen, and
Mm.
I wasn't with the food. I was at the post office, like the post production
Okay.
office, but they had an unlimited supply of Cheez-Its, bagels with cream cheese,
Oh
peanut butter
my
and jelly, and those little fruit snack bags. And my
Jesus.
oh, and I got my they didn't give me health insurance, but I've got a like I added to my salary with those, and like whenever like just if it's always available,
You're
it's
right.
just I have a hard like that's why like
Hmm.
I don't know, like some people are like, oh, I get a thing of Oreos and have two Oreos at a time, and I'm very jealous of those people. I
I
can't
can't
have it
do
in
that
my
either.
house. I can't. Okay,
Hmm.
so I want to get to you. So like,
Okay.
were you like, what was it like? Was it were your parents big? What's that like?
Well, I mean, it's, as we look back, I remember when my father passed away of a heart attack in 2012. My mom and I put together like old pictures, from the 90s. And it was, I'll never forget, her and I are going through these old things. And we realized, I think we both turned to each other at almost the same time and said, Jesus, we were fat. We didn't know. We didn't know. Meanwhile, looking back, my old man, Benevent, is Italian. We had pasta almost every other night, at least.
Wow.
We would
Yeah.
get pizza from either Pizza Hut or a local chain called Monticello's every Friday, whether, no matter what I was doing after that or whatever growing up. We had no idea. I mean, so yeah, so it was, I mean, I knew I was heavier than like a lot of my friends that, were on the baseball team or played volleyball or something like that, but I
Right.
wasn't aware, but I wasn't aware of, and also because it's late 90s and not, the same maybe hyper aware culture we have of such things. I didn't know just how heavy I was until, more or less late high school, early in college, that kind of thing.
Okay, so I mean, it sounds like you had good friends. Like then you didn't feel like you were teased or bullied growing up because of it.
Well, I mean, I mean, they would, occasionally I'd get something, I get, a little bit, but I would never get much of that. I don't know if it was, because there's always kind of a smart person, and I sort of always gravitated towards other, similarly nerdy, intelligent, kind people. But like I really don't have many memories of or any of really being bullied or teased or anything of that regard.
That's
And I
hot.
I I don't know if that was, I can't help but feel on some level luck absolutely played a role there.
Right. Well, I mean, hey, I mean, maybe you just had good friends. But I do want to
Yeah, but
say,
the people that weren't my friends could have come and bullied me too. I mean, like,
right.
I think I just sort of caught some breaks here. Maybe might have been part of it.
Well, I mean, maybe it was because your voice is just so intimidating. I'm just, it's so funny. I'm just getting so many flashbacks to like your comedy, and I do want to say you were talking about being friends with some nerdier people. I do want to let the viewers and the listeners know that we're in the presence of a world record video game holder. Like, can
No, no,
you
no. Many years ago. Many years ago.
can
It's
you remind me what video game it was?
Yeah, it was Nintendo Power Magazine used to be an actual magazine that existed, and you could send in they every month they would have different challenges, and you could send in a thing, and it's and you and to show you how long ago this was, I literally had to have my old man come in and take a picture of the fucking television with a camera,
Oh,
and
they
and
requested
we had to
proof.
develop it and
That's
then mail it
awesome.
into the magazine. So yeah, and at the time, in the April 1992 issue of Nintendo Power magazine, I had the second best time in the world on the Choco Island 1 course in the original Super Mario Kart. It's the one with Ken Griffey Jr. on the cover, because that's right when
Okay.
Nintendo bought that like controlling stake in the Mariners, and they had the cool teal logo. I don't know if you remember that. They moved
I
to like
I remember
the
the
opposite.
Mariners. I didn't know that Nintendo bought part of it. That's crazy. But it's like,
Yeah, that's why they made that game, and that's why they made the cool logo versus that thing that looked just like the Brewers that they had for decades. Like,
okay. So like, I guess because I just really relate. I was always an indoor kid. Like
mm-hmm.
my parents would try to get me to go outside, and I would like. And this is just 100. My dad's in the other room, and it's 100% the truth. I used to like really. I was really tactile, and I like soft things. So when they made me play baseball, I would be catcher, and I wouldn't pay attention because I would be playing with the dirt because it was soft. And
Uh-huh.
I just had no interest in anything outdoors. So like did like would you eat and like did like because I still have a lot of emotional stuff of like I when I watch TV I like having dinner like eating it's like I don't like I would never just like sit down and eat a meal like without like movies, TV, video games has a big there's something in there like mentally with me and food.
It's interesting you say that. I would almost never growing up eat alone. It was, I'd either have meals with my parents in the morning, or certainly at dinner, and or and then lunch with at the lunch table at school, and then even as I got older and teenager, I definitely the meals I ate alone until I went to college were almost nil. But just like you, they tried to get, my parents, God bless them, tried to get me to do some outdoor stuff. The old man had me play baseball. I absolutely hated it because he'd done it then. The only thing I ever really liked was, me and some friends started a roller hockey team in high school, and I was the goalie on that. And because I was a fat kid and I would get exhausted, but I had really good reflexes. So,
Oh
and looking back, I'll never forget, like, we'd play all these games, and like, I'd blow it at the end. And I thought it was like, man, I have all these mental issues. I can't handle the pressure. No, I was fat and I got tired. Like
yeah.
it was, I never put that together. I was like, oh, I crumble under pressure. No, I'm just obese. Like, so it was the weird. I didn't hit that. Didn't come to me till I was like in my mid-20s. I thought I had some big, thing. I couldn't do it, when the moment counted. But no, I was just, exhausted. Like,
Yeah, no, it was always like I would always avoid it because I was a bad at it, so I didn't like it. But then like I just remember like even like as an getting older, like I wouldn't hide what I wouldn't order salads in front of people and then eat McDonald's at
mm,
home. But like I'd always I don't know. You don't want to be the fat guy walking out with like a two things of ice cream. So like you just like you like hide it a little bit. Like did you go
mm,
through any like so like when you got bigger,
mm.
you said you got over 300 pounds. Like do you remember like your
I mean,
biggest?
I don't remember. Here's the thing: I can't, like, hand on the Bible in front of God. I can't tell you I weighed 300 pounds, because I do remember is the scale was getting up into the high 290s, and then I leapt off. Like, it's the closest I ever got to that scene in the action movie where the dude like jumps out of the building and it explodes behind him. Like, I can't.
Right,
I weigh 300 pounds almost assuredly, but I was never going to see that number.
right.
At you know,
Oh yeah,
I
it's a depressing thing when you see that number. It's
Right. So that's
that
why,
like
yeah, I
yeah.
was, I literally fled from it. It's interesting you say that about the salad. To me, that's maybe the biggest reason. I feel like one of the biggest undersold reason as to how I got it. I, I don't know if it's a mental thing or what. I have a gag reflex with lettuce. You give me lettuce, I can't keep it down. I'll spit it up, and I can't, and it makes me choke and all this shit. And I looked it up, like, you can't be allergic to lettuce. So I know it's some kind of weird mental thing, but so I don't eat salads. I never ever have. I mean, I can do some. I've come to appreciate broccoli and stuff like that, but I can't have no lettuce. I'll just
Oh
I'm
yeah, I mean
doing weird. Look at them doing it with my hands. We're just talking about lettuce. Like, yeah.
for the longest time, the only salad I would eat was a Caesar salad, and that's because it's covered in cheese and it's probably more unhealthy than some like other like a sandwich. It's like full of cal. It's just oh, it's the worst. Now, like, did you? before, obviously, like, and we'll get to in a second, like your like
Please.
the current weight loss. But when you were younger, did you ever try and like fail to lose weight?
The first one I
That's a
tried.
knowing laugh.
Yes, yes, it is. The first one I tried, and this was, I want to say this was in the early days of like, I'll go look up, weight loss tips on the internet.
Hmm.
And I found one that, I want to say this was senior year of high school. You could lose weight by drinking grapefruit juice. That
Oh,
if
I
you,
didn't even hear about that one.
okay, well, it's, and I mean, that stuff to me was liquid sandpaper. I mean, that was
Yeah.
some of the most disgusting, I gave myself some kind of mental image about it after that week, 2 weeks of that. I can still, it's been more than 20. I can taste that acrid thing on my tongue. That was one I tried. And my journey was weird. I mean, I came to LA, and this is to finish the thought about things you tried before. I did the Atkins thing in
Oh yeah,
2003, and I
I did
lost
that.
100 pounds. I lost more than 100 pounds with it, and then over the
Wow.
course of the next several years, I put them all back on to
Yeah.
reach the most
Oh.
recent, like
It's,
yeah. Mhm.
it's what it looks like you're hiding from the camera. It's
No, no, no. I was scratching my foot, but yes, that was more. My body knew more than my head did. Like that. That fit. That fit.
oh no,
And
I did Atkins. I remember I have this image of me putting shredded cheese, pepperoni, and then more shredded cheese on a plate, and I would microwave it, and then I would eat that with peanuts, and I'd be like, I'm eating healthy. I'm on
right,
Atkins, and I
but you
like,
lost weight. You do lose weight with Atkins. That's
oh
always the
yeah,
thing.
and then you have heart problems for the rest of
Oh my
your high
god.
blood pressure. But it's like I tried Nutrisystem, I
Mhm,
tried all of the meal plans, like
mhm,
Freshly and all of that, and it's like I don't like because you have an interesting story that I have a little bit of a knowledge about just from your stand up, and like I had friends and family members for years.
mhm.
I mean, some nicer than others, but they would tell me like, "Hey, you're gonna be like, you really should take care of yourself." And unfortunately, in my brain, I was like, "Well, I'm an adult. I'm gonna show them, and I'm gonna go eat pizza." Like it's just
Oh.
like I'm gonna like no one can tell me what to do. Like like I may have been 30, but I was acting like I was like 4. Um, but like you actually it actually like I think you had a joke like the bullying actually worked for you like some like can you talk about like what made you actually decide to lose weight?
Yeah. Yeah. When I was 16, my old man had a heart attack and needed a quintuple bypass. And like it, and again, as I would find out years later, we were, we were heavy, but like he wasn't fat. Like, was he overweight? Yeah, maybe he was a little chunky, but like you wouldn't look at the guy and say, wow, he's fat. So that like and I think that particular thing, especially happening at such a young age when I was again 16, always made me like it made sure that I never had that same reaction you did of like, I'm going to show them. There was always this feeling with me of like, okay, I have to stop this eventually. And
Right.
now that didn't stop me from over the course of the next 4 years, almost doubling in weight to 300 pounds. That absolutely happened until, 2000. And then in 2000, was 2002. I was like, all right, let's get serious about this because that's where I was at 300 pounds. I was having trouble moving around there. I mean, not trouble moving around, but it just wasn't easy to. That was, I'm still trying to find ways to talk about the night that I ordered 3 pizzas from Rondazzo's in South Philly and ate them all in one night and then had a box of reduced fat Cheez-Its to wipe it down
Oh,
like that.
I used to do that. I used to go and pretend I was looking on my phone for an order for someone else. Like I'd be like, yeah, oh yeah, Jimmy does want that, and it was just me. It was just me the whole time.
I wish I'd thought of that at the time. That would have been. I would have. I did it online. There was no
Oh,
pretense. It was
yeah,
just like
that's how
I'm
you
getting these
go.
3 cases. I believe there's a coupon. Yes. So, yeah, no, but that was just it. I mean, the first thing I tried with real commitment was Atkins, which at 21 is an easier sell than it might be at another time.
Right.
And I'll never forget that first month. I lost 30 pounds in a month. It was December. And then on New Year's Eve, I went to my best friend's to celebrate. I had 2 whiskey sours and I think 3 pieces of pizza. And I woke up the next day and I gained 8 pounds. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. I've been
Atkins
there.
is effective, but it's such a crapshoot thing, and I lost 100 pounds that way. And then, I graduated college and it came time to move out to LA. And unfortunately, I wasn't quite as smart as, I had some concerns and anxieties a lot of our friends didn't have. Is I came out here just to write because I was afraid to try stand up. I was afraid to act. And I think all of that, and despite that and the fact I needed those things in my life and didn't realize it. And also the fact that, just trying to write in and of itself, just by itself is hard. I think all of those things kind of contributed to me, putting that 100 or so pounds back on over the course of the next several years.
Right.
And then I just, and then I woke up one day and I want to say it was 2010. Yeah. And I was like, all right, this early 2010, it's like, let's try this for real. Just no Atkins, no bullshit. Because I tried to restart Atkins throughout those last several years. And the thing is, once you, it's such a hard diet to go back to. Okay, this time we're going to recommit to it, and this time we'll overshoot our goal by 20 pounds and wean ourselves off. And even your body knows that's nonsense.
No, I just to quickly interrupt. I did a juice fast once, and I lost.
I never even tried that one.
Oh, I did it. I did it while I was at Hell's Kitchen, and we did it together. And I lost 70 pounds in like 26 days.
Oh,
it was crazy, and I stopped because my legs started to tingle, and I'm glad that I did because I don't know if you know Dean Del Rey, the comic. He actually got diabetes.
I've certainly seen Dean. Yeah,
he got diabetes from a juice fast.
Oh my god! What the hell juice was Dean drinking?
Well, because it's all sugar. Like when you put apples and grapes.
So still so even on the cleanse, you're drinking the sugar-filled juices. Oh,
yeah. Well, I mean, it's another one of the things that like I learned through this is like there's a difference between eating an apple because of the fiber versus juicing an apple. Like I wasn't drinking like the ocean spray, like the stuff they pump sugar into. But like, there's something about just drinking it that it goes directly to your bloodstream. And knock on wood, I don't have diabetes now. But like, I remember my legs started to tingle, and I was like, "This is not good." So thankfully, I stopped. But I remember the meal. I lived across the street or from a Mediterranean place, and I got rice, chicken. I got a healthy one: a rice, chicken salad, and hummus. And I ate it, and I gained 5 pounds. Just from that one meal.
And that's not even 5 pounds of food.
No,
that's the thing that blew my mind. If you weighed that stuff on a scale in and of itself, it would not come to what gains in your body.
It's wild. So started, but so you were saying you tried to do Atkins again, but it didn't work.
Right. I couldn't, and moreover, I couldn't recommit to it. I mean, I was here in LA. I was broke. I was trying to find day jobs. I'm trying to write scripts. I'm running all around, and it's just, and I didn't have. I mean, for me, and there's other people that can maybe do this better. It's part of making a diet work is having a structure for it. You have to have a structure in your life to be able to do that kind of thing. Like I couldn't, do it otherwise. So, but yeah, and then that's how I came to let's just try something for real. In January 2010, and I tried a bunch of different things, and I was kind of lucky that I hit on something that worked for me and stuck with it. Right. That's the biggest piece of advice I could give is that you have to find something that actually does taste good to you, or else none of this works.
And we'll get to that. And I don't want to, if you want me to take this out, I will. But I remember you telling me at the comedy shows, and you were very, because sometimes when skinny people to tell you to lose weight, they tell you in a mean way, and you were never mean. You were very understanding, but you were like, hey, if you ever need help, like you were very kind about. But what I remember on stage, you were talking about like one of your friends basically called you fat or something, like there was some instigating moment of like.
Well, I mean, it's what it was. I think this is what we're talking about, and now that we're taking, I don't think I knew the guy all that well, but it was there was one comment in college I remember, and I think it speaks to something that you kind of mentioned about earlier, was about how like, I never really was bullied. I never really was teased. And I think that's how, one well-meaning person who made, what was nothing other than an in the moment, perhaps insensitive comment at a party, drunk as hell, and the south side of Philadelphia. How just that one comment hit me very hard to the point where I remembered it to bring it up, to at least try to fashion a piece of material around it. I mean, it's sort of, you mentioned it. Now that I can't, I'm trying to think of the exact circumstance, but there was like, that wasn't in and of itself whatever an instigating moment, but that was one of the few times where it's like, wow, I really was teased or made fun of for being overweight. And
it's crazy how those things stick in your. I still remember comments, and I said this. Well, actually, they'll hear it in a week, but I said
mm-hmm,
this on another podcast. I was in 8th grade,
mm-hmm,
and the song "Your Body Is a Wonderland" was out, and for some
mm-hmm,
reason I didn't go to I wasn't. They weren't art. I have no idea why they were singing it, but I was in a group and the people were saying it or singing it or talking about it, and
mm-hmm.
this kid named Kevin said, "Stop. Lee, you can't sing this song because your body is not a wonderland." I was in 8th grade, and
I do remember you saying this.
I made a joke about it. Yeah, I made a joke because it's just true. I'll never forget. I'm about to be 33, and that was God. I was probably like 20 years ago, and I'll never forget it. But like, and it's tough for different people really, and it's I get it. Like I get for like how if you have someone in your life that's big, or maybe it's not food, maybe it's a drinking issue, maybe it's a smoking issue. Like I get that, like you in your heart you want to help somebody, so I get that, but it's like some like just to go the mean route, and some people respond to it, so like it's hard to like judge how you react, but it's like for me personally that's not the way to get me to do something.
Oh, no, 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 no. I agree with that 100%. And I even kind of piggyback on that, where it's like the people that do respond to that are it's really kind of a very milder version of that, like trauma begets trauma kind of thing. Like
Right.
whatever motivations they have in their life came from something dark, and now they're pushing that same thing forward to you. I mean, it's there are people that I never responded particularly well to that, and I've been very lucky in my life to be surrounded with people that kind of understand that. But I know that there are people that do, but man, I can't wrap my mind around it.
No, me either. So you were saying, and I think it's very true, that you have to have some sort of, and people get mad when you use the word diet. You have to have some sort of eating plan
Yeah.
that works for you. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like, what if it wasn't Atkins? What did you
That,
start doing?
sure. Well, what happened for me was that, my big thing that I've never ever been able to get rid of and still can't to this day is pretzels. I mean, I can,
Really?
I don't eat French fries. I have pizza like once or twice a year. I don't worry about, I don't eat pasta anymore. I don't eat any of that, but I could never give up pretzels. So in January 2010, it very much became like, all right, let's try gradual progression. It's, can I get through a day working? Can I get through a day while also being creative without eating an entire bag of Snyder's pretzels? And
Okay, that
soon
is
that became,
what kind.
yeah.
Which ones do you like? Which ones are your
Well, number
kryptonite?
one, I like them all, but my favorite, and I just ate too many of them this morning, was the always the sourdough nibblers. That
Oh, those are
was,
good.
you know,
Oh yeah.
there was a very brief period of time, and they don't sell them anymore. But 2003, at the height of the Atkins thing, when I was doing it, Snyder's released a low carb version of those nibblers that came in the silver bag.
Ugh,
It
how
looked like
awful
a
did they
power up from a
taste?
video game. It was amazing. They haven't sold that in years. But
Did they taste
that was,
good?
I mean, I guess I don't know. They tasted
Oh,
fine.
okay.
For someone who's doing Atkins, my God, they were ambrosia. It was something incredible, like, and
I like the
yeah,
honey wheat pretzels. Those are because they're kind of sweet.
they
The
are like, those are good too. That's
yeah,
also a good choice, Lee. But
those.
they always came in that interestingly shaped bag. Like that's like those bags of those, I want to say, were only like 750 calories in total. versus the regular Snyder's bag, which is like almost half of that. They're charging you more for that honey thing. You see how much I've thought
Okay.
about this in regards to the pretzels.
Oh
Like
no,
that.
no, I know how many calories are in everything. Like, you can ask me like I know in rice cakes the chocolate are 50 and the caramel are 45. I know exactly how many calories are in everything. Um,
Yes.
but okay, so
A lot
your
of
thing
math.
your thing was pretzels, but like so like what would like a normal day of eating look like for you?
Well, I mean, and at the beginning, it was, I'd get up. I'm sure I'd try to do some kind of microwave egg thing or some kind of sandwich. Then this is when I was working a temp job somewhere up in Agora Hills. So I would pound as much caffeine as possible in the morning, get in the car, try to eat something on the way. Like I said, an egg thing, some kind of lunch I brought, and then the big thing of pretzels, and then come home and have, try to eat a moderate amount of fried chicken or something and the pretzels. And then, or I'd get Subway on the way back. But that's what I realized is that starting in that January, it was like, all right, what can we take away from all these things that are wrong? What can we substitute them for that still tastes good? What can
Right.
I take
And
out to improve? And that's
and
how
that
I
was
found the beans.
okay, and I
Which
do
is
want to
still
get
the
to
big
that.
thing.
And,
Yeah.
and like and that was and that's what I meant. And so when you said fried chicken, I was a little bit taken aback. I meant like when eating healthy.
Yes. Oh, okay.
Because I was like, is fried chicken really part of a
I'm at the
diet?
start of, no, I wasn't eating fried chicken. Oh, Jesus. But at the start of right, that's where I was at the start. And that was in January. And by April or May, I was, more or less where I still am today in terms of, get a can of reduced sodium black beans, get a moderate amount of rice. Now they have these 100-calorie packs. I get up and get one, but you can envision what those look like, and put honey. Oh, I actually just had it because I made it earlier. I got and then put, honey mustard. I don't know if this is an endorsement. You got to block this out. But this
No, I'll
particular
take it.
brand of honey,
French's. I'll take your money in
okay,
French's.
good. Because I'll tell you right now, because French's is one of the very few honey mustards that has zero sugar. Not 1 gram,
Oh.
not 2 grams. This French is like a couple extra bucks. Who cares? Has zero sugar. That, and for the most taste, in terms of zero sugar, is this. It's mild wing sauce. I'm a
Oh.
very white person from a very white suburb, so I can't handle any kind of spice. But mild wing sauce gets a little bit of tang, a little bit of taste, and no, there's 2 grams of fat, but no saturated and no sugar.
So you don't you I have a couple questions. So you don't really have that much meat anymore?
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're talking. Yeah, it was. I did eventually. I started with just the beans, and then graduated up to putting meat in once I started doing more and more workouts. But yeah, now I put in 1 to 2 handfuls of. I get frozen chicken. I get the pre-cooked because I'm very impatient.
Right.
And and I just microwave it. I usually get from Tyson, or if there's some other better brand, and I mix all that in together: the 100-calorie rice, the black beans, and the big things of chicken, and and then put in the honey mustard and the mild wing sauce, and that allows me to eat probably more pretzels than I still should to be able to maintain this body. Now I don't have no 6-pack abs, but like I do tend to wear between 30 to 34 pants. So
Wow. I'm
um,
I'm
yeah.
excited to be getting close to under 4. I'm not at under 40 yet, but I'm getting close to it.
Mhm.
But so it's like um it's interesting because you like it's smart. Well, I didn't realize that pretzels were so big for you, but it's smart because like for me to have the rice bean and meat mixture that you have would be tough, but like the pretzels are what is it sounds like most important to you. So like in a weird way, but it's hey, if it's better than being almost 300 pounds, and if you're like, listen, I'm gonna eat pretzels, so I'm not gonna have like I'm gonna have a very low calorie. Like, are you? It sounds like your dinners are probably under like 700 calories. So
Yeah,
like,
and sometimes, I don't always eat the biggest dinner. Sometimes I'll have some more rice, or I'll get like a little pack of the pastaroni, which is what, 300 calories, and I'll put some extra chicken in that, and then just stir that up, and I won't use any sauce. That's still almost essentially sugar free. Maybe there's 5 grams in it or so. But for dinner, but that's to get back to what you were saying earlier. That's how I managed the 7-Eleven at the fourth wall. Was that I would get my $5 cash, and to do that, I would buy the 99-cent bag of nibblers, and maybe I would get the baked Lay's, which are also a big part of my diet too, since I
Oh,
like chips so much.
I have a 40 count box. I actually have two 40 count boxes of because it's I got one of Smart Food because the Smart Foods are 80 calories, and
Right,
then the Big Lays.
I've been doing the same thing during the pandemic. I
Yep.
finished mine the other day, or we could hold them up here now. But
Oh,
yes,
they're right. Trust me, it's embarrassing, but it's like, and each bag's 110 calories. But like
yes.
the other interesting thing that you talked about, and it's huge for me,
Mhm.
is making cooking as easy as possible.
Oh, for sure.
Because if it's
Mhm.
if it takes a lot of steps for me,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna do it.
Yes, that's exactly the way I am. Yes, that's not to say I couldn't do it, but if I'm just if I'm not on a date, like we're not, if I'm just making a meal for me after working out, I don't want to sit there and go through all the steps or something for, like that's ridiculous.
No, and it's like that's when I would like because I'm still not really on a great schedule, but like
Mm,
I don't really have like my dad for example. He eats every night at like
okay.
between 5:30 and 6 every
Oh,
night.
oh,
And yeah, oh, well, I'm in South Florida, Greg. It's
right, but that still seems
but
like a good schedule. Yeah.
oh, okay. Well, I was gonna say because I usually try to eat at like 7, um,
Uh,
just because I like to eat as late as possible so I don't get hungry at night. Um,
mm,
but
okay.
what I even when I was eating whatever I wanted, I would just pretty much wait until I was starving, and then it'd be like, oh well, I have to
Mm,
go get something quick, so I'm gonna go to McDonald's for the fourth time this week. It was just
right.
like I just so that's why like what you're doing and what I wanted to get to next was it sounded like and I didn't even know this until you were talking about it is it sounds like you're very conscious about macros of like sugar versus saturated fat
Yeah,
and it's like I just count calories so like I have
good. That's
these
probably better.
frozen well I don't know well because I have these frozen they have these frozen chicken breasts from a company called Barber and they're chicken cordon bleu and they have ham and cheese in them but each
Oh,
one is 270 calories and it
okay.
comes in a pack of two so it's
Mhm.
540 and then you have I can choke down a salad and then I have some like some sort of veggie or something but I know that they have too much sodium and it's
I can't
probably
count sodium. That I
it,
can't. That would throw
well,
this whole thing off if I started looking at sodium.
but like how like was it what like was there a thought process or like how did you start looking into mag because like for someone who's been big I don't know what sort of how much protein I'm supposed to have and like how
Uh,
to
uh, uh,
avoid saturated fat like when did you get into that sort of stuff
well, we started talking about saturated fat when I was in high school, and the old man, had came back home from the quintuple bypass because that was literally what the doctors told him was avoid that. I don't remember what they said too much about sugar, but and that's also when he took up cycling. But I remember the saturated fat edict coming down, when I was a teenager. I didn't start looking at sugar until this final push to get this body in 2010. And then, frankly, it, how do I want to word this? Like it's like almost I feel like I might have solved a math problem without being able to lay out the process of exactly how I got there. Like,
okay
did me looking at the sugar lead to me losing 120 some pounds in 15 months? Maybe, maybe not. A lot went into that in terms of different exercises I started doing and when I would exercise and how. But the sugar thing couldn't have hurt trying to keep. And really, I think that's how I managed to not balloon up during just working out here at home because I can't do nearly as much as I did at the gym, and I certainly don't do as much cardio. But just managing that, I think it can't hurt. But then again, by the same token, I don't know how to get like abs. I don't know how to get any tighter than this.
no
So
you're
I don't
looking I
know.
don't you don't need to get any dinner but it is amazing what sugar like speaking about Dean again and I'll have to get him on here is he was to me, he was like kind of like my goal. To him, he was chubby. Um, but he lost, I don't know the exact number, but he lost a ton of weight by just simply cutting out sugar and is like
Wow.
like almost like rail thin now and it's
Oh wow.
amazing what sugar can do to you and it's
Hmm.
it really like it's and like what I'm very interested in now is so you it's amazing that you lost 120 pounds in 15 months. That's a ton of
Hmm.
weight, and but so like that, if I'm hearing you right, that was probably like in like 2011, 2012 is when you stopped,
Yeah,
when you
yeah,
got down
yeah.
there.
From January 2010 to May 2011 is when this all actually took place. I mean, and the truth is, I was too afraid to try stand-up comedy when I was heavy. I was never on stage heavy. I never went up until I was already thin. I've always,
Wow.
I obviously wish I'd started much, much earlier, but yeah, it was, one more thing I had to overcome mentally.
Well, yeah. Well, stand up is it's all about confidence, and it's like I'm basically, not basically, I do fake it, but it's like it is like it's tough when like because people take pictures of you on stage or like after the show, and it's like when you're big, it's like I don't want to. I'd rather kill you than have a picture taken of me. But what I think is very interesting, when I want to hear about like how you did it, and is like, and it's a weird double edged sword, because like right
Mhm.
now I'm looking at maintaining, and it's
Mhm.
like, wow, when I get to be able to maintain, it's gonna be so much easier because I could eat probably a few more hundred calories a day, and be okay. But it's like I've done that before, and slowly and but surely you sort of, okay. Well, I used to remember on one of my many diets, I would have my cheat day on Saturday, and
Mm.
then it got to the point where I was like, well, if I stay up late enough on Friday, it's technically Saturday, so my cheat day can start Friday night after
Oh,
midnight. And then it
oh,
went from that to the whole weekend, and that's why I can't have cheat days now. But like
I hear you.
how did, because you've maintained it for almost I mean, I guess
Yeah,
more
oh
than a
no, it's been a
decade.
decade. It'll be a decade in three
Like
months.
that's amazing. How do you do that?
Ah, it, I mean, looking back, the only thing that makes the most sense is that I did find something that worked for me. That like I still
Oh,
look
hold on one
forward
second.
to.
Did you just press something, because your sound just completely changed?
Oh, did it? I moved it forward here. I moved the phone. Is it any better? Or is it still suck?
Yeah, you know, did you change mics, or no?
No,
Is it just
I've been on my phone this whole time. This is
uh,
did it.
okay? You're fine. You know what? It's fine. So I'm sorry. Go ahead. So you
No,
found something that works for you?
you're not the first person to say that kind of thing. No, I think it was just that I found something that worked for me. I woke up this morning and worked out because in large part I was looking forward to having my chicken and the beans and the rice. I never got tired of it. I never, I that never it never felt like I was missing out on something because I came to love that so much. And that all of that helps, and and it also helps that, like, look, I got into acting, I got into comedy. This part of maintaining this body now is more than just health. It's a professional obligation,
Right.
and I really like, and in a weird way, I like that responsibility. I like having to live up to that. I find that invigorating.
Well, yeah, whatever makes you do it, that's awesome. And then like, did you ever in the past decade, like, did you ever gain 20 pounds and have to lose it, or have you been pretty
Yes,
consistent?
yes. When the old man passed, I mean, it's when he had the heart attack. I there was a month of just I'm not doing anything. I didn't go to the gym for a while. I ate a whole bunch of unhealthy food, but always with the understanding of, like, okay, we'll have to change this eventually, but for now, I'm not going to beat myself up for it. And yeah, and truthfully, I don't know if I've ever gotten back to as thin as I was before that. And to this day, I still wonder if I have a good enough balance of, trying to lift these dumbbells in my room versus doing cardio, because I've always struggled with cardio. The only thing I ever liked was doing a few minutes of high intensity interval training, and literally just a few minutes of it at the gym, which I haven't been able to do in here. And
Right.
so I've been playing with, so I very much have this thing of, like, I win the when I get the vaccine, I want to go out and look as good as possible. But there's also this feeling of like, well, I think I'm going to be content with this. I'm not sure. Like I said, I think the abs are not going to make it this time. Yeah, at some point, I'd like to find a cardio thing or a weightlifting thing that I feel as confident about as the beans, as the chicken, as the rice. You know.
Well, I mean, that's what everyone says. It's like, I mean, the working out is big, and I do a little bit of it, but everyone says it's like 90% diet, and it's like,
I think that's right. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think it, and I also think it changes as you're older. I don't have the body I did. I don't have the metabolism I did a decade ago. It takes more now. It takes, I think, more of the diet, less the working out. I can't work out as, not that I did, some wild, crazy dude workout, then, but I know I get tireder now more than I did. I drink unbelievable amounts of sugar-free caffeine, which also helped, by the way. That was how I got through the Atkins. That was my first. I didn't drink coffee until I was 22 years old.
Oh, I still don't drink coffee. It helps you?
I mean, the caffeine thing did, because it is an appetite suppressant, particularly at the beginning.
Oh.
Now I need caffeine to get through my day with my job and everything else. But but yeah, and I'm sure I drink too much caffeine. But it very much helped when I was doing the Atkins as a younger man. And I mean, I'm not saying, get into caffeine. But if you're looking for a boost of energy and maybe something to keep you from eating the Nature's Valley bar at like 1 in the afternoon, caffeine might be able to help a little bit in that regard.
Well, that's awesome. It's Greg, it's been awesome talking to you. Do you want to tell everybody, like, your social media and stuff? And if you're in the LA area, go see Greg. And you have a bunch of Zoom shows right now. Hopefully within the next few months that'll be over, and you can go back to real stand up.
I'm doing a Zoom half hour on Friday night, and then after that, I'm hoping it's like this was my year in Zoom, and then after that, I hope I'm doing many fewer of them. But yeah, at Greg Benevent on Twitter, Instagram, all that. This was wonderful. This was really good to see you.
It has been great to see you, buddy. Thank you, Greg. Again, I'm very sorry about the audio changing at the very end, but I didn't want to take his words out of his mouth and just tell you what he said. So I left it in, and I hope it's okay. I appreciate you working with me on that little segment. But the rest I thought was fine and great. And I am very thankful to Greg, again, Benevent, Benevent, Greg Benevent. Check him out if you're ever in the LA. And thank you for supporting the Waistline podcast. We have a YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, email, waistlinepodcast@gmail.com. If you want to talk to me, that's where I am. And again, my name is Lee Syatt. If you want, I also have a personal social media, Lee Syatt, LeeSyatt. But what I really love and appreciate is you telling a friend about the podcast. Everyone has especially if you're a big guy, or a big person, you have a friend who's big too, because we people who like to eat like to meet. Nope, I'm gonna have to come up with a rhyme. I shouldn't have done that off the top of my head, but we stick together, and it's not because of the honey on our fingers. That's mean. It's a joke. I'm sorry. I think you guys have a good sense of humor. And if you're upset, I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about myself. I hate sticky hands. But please do tell a friend about this. I really do feel I am honored by the response I've already gotten, but I really do feel like once people see this or hear this, they'll stick with it. They'll stick with us, because I really do feel like we have something cool on our hands here, and it just needs to get in front of people. Because I do know, I understand that this is a niche topic, and luckily not everyone needs to lose weight. But for those of you interested in this topic, I think it's going well. Again, thank you, and we'll be back next Tuesday, the first Tuesday of April, with Shane Wally, and the week after that, Obese to Beast. Don't miss it. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. They're both great. They're different but great episodes. So thank you again, Greg. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week on the Waistline Podcast.